Hello everyone and welcome back to Total Football Talk. So we're going to look at all the latest news coming out of Manchester United. And first up, it's Derby Day. So yes, get your comments in below, get your score predictions in. How do you think we're going to do? How important is this game to you this morning? Do you think that we need to win it? Obviously for bragging rights, very important. It's a it's probably one of the biggest games in Manchester and the Northwest, but how important is it to both teams in the terms of the Premier League? Because Manchester United are obviously languishing in 13th, and Manchester City are fighting for the top four as opposed to fighting for the title. So who's this game more important to? For me, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe City, because they need to make sure that they secure Champions League football, and for us, just for bragging rights and for Ruben Amorim to stop his the constant. He's picked up a lot of defeats this season, so he really could be doing without another heavy defeat today. Not that we've had heavy defeats, but you know what I mean. We just can't be doing with another defeat. We lost the Forest midweek, and now we're up against City, and I just think he's got to get some type of result today just to keep the ship steady for the moment. Okay, let's looking at the top news stories. And Victor Osimhen is doing the rounds again, and from what we're hearing is that apparently Manchester United have clear intentions. According to, there's a journalist that's come out. Journalist hasn't been named, but there is news that we are heavily interested in him. The reason being, something that has come to light, is that Napoli don't want to sell Victor Osimhen to a rival Italian team. Juventus are in for him. Now there is a release clause, but apparently Napoli are happy to accept offers below the release clause as long as they can sell to a Premier League club. And now we know that Manor, who's one of their chief sporting director or sporting executive, I'm not entirely sure what his title is, he's in London at the minute, and he's having conversations apparently with both Chelsea and Manchester United. Now we know Chelsea are in desperate need of a striker, and I think Victor Osimhen would be a great coup for them if they were to get him. But Manchester United also in the hunt for a striker. Now there was obviously the talk yesterday heavily about Delap coming to Manchester United. Now I did mention yesterday in my reel that Delap really wants European football, and that is something that Manchester United cannot offer him at the minute yet. We're holding on to the Europa League, and kind of everything is, all eggs are in that basket essentially, and that is where we are at the minute. Hence the reason why, if we don't go full steam ahead into the derby today, and I'll look at little bits and pieces about the derby a little further into the program. But other bits of news worth looking at, we'll look at what 𝐆𝐚𝐫𝐿 has done for Manchester United under 18s yesterday. I did speak about him yesterday. Funny enough, he kind of lived up to my billing, which I thought he might do. So we look at what's going on with him. Rayan Cherki, apparently there's a release clause in his contract, and let's have a look at how much that is and whether he would be of interest to us. Funny enough, he's going to be playing against us again for Lyon in the Europa League, I believe, and we can get a gauge on what type of player he is. Ruben Amorim's come out with some big statements, and we'll look at those, and we'll also look at a couple of young players that are being potentially going to be brought into the squad today for the Manchester City derby. So lots of information to get into. So as I said, obviously we started with the Victor Osimhen thing. Do you want Victor Osimhen? I've asked this question 1,000 times. You're probably bored of me asking this question. Victor Osimhen to Manchester United, yes or no? What do you think? For me, it's a yes. Ideally, what I would love is Osimhen and Delap to come in and have real, but that's pie in the sky, dreaming, not going to happen. What will happen is someone will come in, whether it's Delap or whether it's Osimhen, I don't know. But because Napoli want to sell Osimhen to a Premier League team as opposed to an Italian rival, I think that gives us a chance. Apparently, Manchester United can't afford the wages, and I think Osimhen would be a very good deal. Osimhen over Delap, for me, I'd take Osimhen just purely on the fact that he's probably ready now to go and help us move forward as a team, where Delap is a development striker, a very, very good striker, but will take time, and I just don't think Ruben has the time. But get your thoughts in below. So apparently this was the news coming out about Rayan Cherki. Rayan Cherki has a £25 million release clause in his contract, with Manchester United and Tottenham both interested. Now, I don't know too much about Rayan Cherki. I will get to see a little bit about him when we play Lyon in the Europa League, so I'll get a closer look at him, and I'll be keeping my eyes peeled just to see whether he can bring what we think Manchester United need to that forward line, and whether he would fit into a Ruben Amorim system. So that's where we are with that one. Brian, so you've got Rayan Cherki at 25 million. For me, that's actually a really good deal for a European striker. Obviously unproven in the Premier League, but he's done well in the he's done well in Liga. So that's, you know, one to keep an eye on, one to watch over, especially the next couple of weeks, because we'll be up against them. And I will be interested to see what he can do when it comes to us. Now, this is what kind of Ruben Amorim was talking about in his press conference. So Ruben Amorim stressed that, you know, he wants one or two big players in the summer, but suggested his definition of big players could be different to what fans expect. Now he goes on to explain what that is. He says, I shouldn't have said that. There are characters we don't have in our squad. I try to see the gaps and we have in our squad. When I talk about great players, I'm not talking about players from Real Madrid, etc. They are great players in the way I see the game. So I think sometimes things get lost a little bit in translation, and I think Ruben Amorim, there's characters and there's certain types of players that he wants to fill the gaps in his squad that we don't have yet. So it doesn't have to be players from Real Madrid or Barcelona or, you know, Paris Saint-Germain. He's not talking about sort of finding the best players within those teams and bringing them into Manchester United. He wants the best players that he can find that will fit his system, the characters that can play within the kind of the directive that he wants to go forward with. And he has his ideas and he knows what he would like, and now I just hope that the board can go out there and make it work and find the players that he wants, because if he doesn't get the players that he wants, as I said before, it's going to be really, really, really difficult for him going forward. So that's where we are with you know, with his statement on 2 to 3 players. I'm glad that was kind of clarified. Now kind of moving into something else that he talked about in his press conferences. I think this was in the embargoed section. You know, so he talks about injuries, and sometimes because of injuries, you find out something else that will be important for the future. I found that Garnacho can play on the right. I found that Aiden is ready to stay in our squad, and maybe we can change the way we are going to do things in the summer market. There's always good things and bad things. So I think we all, as fans, know Garnacho on the left cuts in and shoots. Garnacho on the right, he has to be more creative because he can't. His left foot's not as good as his right foot. His left foot's not bad as a 2-footer winger. He has got the ability to come in and take a shot with his left, but he's more than likely to have a right foot. Or he's more than likely to whip a cross in or find a pass with his right foot if he's cutting in from the right. And I think that gives us more creativity, which is what we need right now. So Ruben Amorim's kind of discovering this. We as fans probably already knew this. He's discovering it, and that's good. And going forward, and it's great that he's found out that Aiden Heaven is ready to step up and make that sort of transition into the first team already. We've seen that with some very good, important, very impressive performances already from the young kid, and he came at such a minuscule price, with such a minuscule price tag. There's no pressure on him in that respect, which is brilliant as well. So hopefully he can flourish over time, and it's great that Ruben Amorim's already found him. So delighted for that one. And talking about defenders, 𝐆𝐚𝐫𝐤𝐞𝐥 is another so he's another centre half who plays in the under-18s, who will be on the bench today. And I also believe is either Bentito Matado and potentially Musa, who scored a double hat-trick yesterday in the Leeds game. Manchester United won 13-1. Some of these players are going to be coming in and they're going to be in the squad today despite playing yesterday, which is brilliant news. So he's really, really trying to delve into the under-18s and help bring them forward into the team, which I think is brilliant, brilliant news. So that was the information we have on that. And one other little piece of news that I had was that I spoke about this kid yesterday, JJ Gabriel, a 14-year-old. And he's just breaking into the under-18s, and he played in that Leeds under-18s Leeds match yesterday. Manchester United won 13-1, and you know, and Gabriel came on and he scored 2 goals. He scored the last 2 goals, and he's, you know, from these little bits of information we have here, youngest to ever make an appearance, youngest goal scorer ever, and the youngest ever to score a brace. 14-year-old playing against 18-year-olds. Kid is absolutely ridiculously good, playing at that level at this young. Now, I don't want to do is, and probably am doing it, I don't want to heap all the pressure on him because he doesn't have to come through tomorrow. But he is one for the future. But there is issues. He has a European passport. or he has an Irish passport, so he can play in Europe. And we know that Barcelona heavily looked at him, heavily linked with him, as are other European clubs. He can't sign contract with Manchester United, said yesterday, until he's 17. It's a long way off. Manchester United need to find a way to keep hold of this kid because he's absolutely sensational. And if they can keep progressing and keep coming through the ranks, maybe he could break in a few years. If we can keep his feet on the ground, keep him. I hope he has good family around him. I'm sure he has. Maybe he will come through and he could be one for the future, because he's making a lot of waves. But mentioned him yesterday, so I just want to bring him in today. Fantastic win for the under-18s after going out of the FA Youth Cup against Villa the other night, which was very, very disappointing for them. But that was that. So that is all your news on Derby Day. What am I feeling about the Derby? I don't really know, to be honest. If we get a draw, I'll be happy. If we win, great. I just don't want to see us get beat. We got beaten. And Ruben has got to... He's had so many defeats this year. He needs to find a way to win a match. If he can win the Derby, great. If he gets a draw, we can take it. We can move on. I want to get through it unscathed. I don't want any injuries. Would love us to go into that Lyon game with the opportunity to make it past Lyon and keep our European kind of dream alive, because that's all we have to hang on to, and that's more important at the minute. But bragging rights in the Derby. And maybe some of these young players will get an opportunity today. Actually, they may not get an opportunity, but they could well be on the bench and get the experience of what it's like to be around Derby Day and playing against Manchester City. And that's where we are with everything at the minute. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. If you're enjoying the content, hit the old subscribe button, hit the like button, get your comments in below. Would love to hear from you. And thank you for sticking around to the end. You're absolute legends. Your 10 minutes is done, and I'll see you tomorrow.